Fade in. A blinding light pierces the void. Angels soaring in perfect harmony, their wings glinting like molten silver, their voices weaving the music of creation itself. Among them, one figure stands apart, radiant, brilliant, almost too perfect. What if I told you the most powerful being in all of heaven wasn't always a symbol of evil? That he was once its brightest, most exalted angel, known in scripture as the morning star, the anointed cherub who walked closest to God himself. His name was Lucifer, a name that means light bringer. Ezekiel 28:12-15 describes him as the seal of perfection, full of wisdom and perfect in beauty. He was more than an angel. He was heaven's crown jewel, the embodiment of divine intelligence and glory. And yet, something changed. A seed of pride, so subtle it went unnoticed, began to grow in his heart. A thought, so dangerous that it challenged the very nature of creation. Could he rise above God? Could he become equal to the Almighty? Some call him Lucifer, others call him Satan. But the truth behind his fall is far more shocking than most have ever imagined. He didn't simply rebel out of malice. He questioned everything. Heaven's order, the hierarchy of angels, even the ultimate purpose of God's will. Ancient interpretations suggest he discovered truths about divine authority, freedom, and the limits of obedience. Truths heaven never wanted any being to know. By the end of this story, you'll witness how the brightest, most exalted angel in existence became the most feared, the most notorious, and the ultimate adversary. And the real reason for his fall may challenge everything you think you know about good, evil, and the very nature of power itself. Before there was sin, before the serpent slithered through Eden, before even the foundations of earth were laid, there was a perfect, unshakable order. Heaven, as described in scripture and ancient texts, was a realm of flawless harmony, radiant light, and unwavering devotion. Here, every being moved with purpose, every sound was music, and every thought aligned with the will of the divine. Among all the angels, one stood above the rest, Lucifer. His name, meaning lightbringer or morning star, reflected not only his radiance, but the unparalleled brilliance of his intellect and his closeness to God himself. Ezekiel 28:12-17 gives us a haunting glimpse into his glory. You were the seal of perfection, full of wisdom and perfect in beauty. He was more than an angel. He was the anointed cherub, the guardian of God's throne, entrusted with authority that no other being could claim. His beauty was breathtaking, his wisdom revered by all, and his knowledge of the universe unmatched. Some texts even suggest he had insight into the very fabric of creation, a cosmic intelligence that could almost rival God's own. Yet, as ancient scholars and scriptures warn, brilliance carries a shadow. With unmatched power and knowledge came pride, a subtle, dangerous seed that would grow into rebellion. This story is not just myth or metaphor. It resonates across cultures, from the canonical Bible to apocryphal writings and even Islamic texts. Across these traditions, the tale of Lucifer's fall serves as a universal warning. Power, without humility, no matter how radiant or well-intentioned, can spiral into catastrophe. And perhaps today, in a world dominated by ambition, ego, and unchecked influence, Lucifer's story holds a mirror to humanity itself, a reminder that even the greatest light can cast the darkest shadow. Imagine heaven in its prime, endless landscapes of crystalline light stretching beyond what the eye could see, golden rivers of energy weaving through clouds of pure radiance, and choirs of angels singing in harmony so perfect they seemed to bend the very fabric of reality. Every movement, every sound, every thought resonated with divine order. And in the center of this perfection, one figure shone, brighter than all others: Lucifer. Scripture and tradition paint him as a being of unparalleled intellect, creativity, and authority. He was not just radiant in beauty. He was radiant in mind, the first to grasp the mysteries of God's plan, the one who could perceive the architecture of existence with clarity that even the highest angels could scarcely comprehend. Ezekiel 28 describes him as the pinnacle of wisdom and perfection, blameless until iniquity was found within him. Angels looked to Lucifer as a leader, a guide, a model of divine brilliance. Mortals, in rare visions or dreams, often saw him as the embodiment of ultimate wisdom and light, the morning star itself. Yet perfection carries its own peril. To witness infinite beauty and absolute authority day after day, only to see it shared with others, can plant seeds of discontent. And in Lucifer, those seeds took root. Envy slowly transformed into pride, and pride whispered a dangerous thought: am I not worthy of more? Am I not the brightest, the most closest to God himself? This subtle shift, a spark invisible to most but catastrophic in its potential, would become the beginning of the greatest rebellion heaven had ever known. Lucifer's pride did not emerge overnight. Ancient interpretations and theological scholars suggest a subtle, almost imperceptible shift over time, a quiet questioning that would grow into cosmic defiance. He began to challenge God's authority not out of ignorance, but from an overwhelming sense of entitlement. If I am the brightest, the most brilliant of all, why must I serve? Why bow to a throne when I could claim dominion myself? This was not a simple act of rebellion. It was both spiritual and strategic. Lucifer's charisma and vision of independence drew others to his cause. 1/3 of the angelic host, angels of immense power and intellect, aligned with him. These were not ordinary angels. They were beings who had once served faithfully, now captivated by the promise of autonomy and the possibility of reshaping the divine order. Over time, they would become the fallen angels, known in scripture and tradition as demons. Isaiah 14:12-15 captures the scope of his ambition. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High. These words are more than poetry. They reveal the magnitude of pride and defiance, a challenge that shook the very foundation of heaven itself. But this rebellion was not mere arrogance. It was a calculated cosmic gamble, an audacious attempt to rewrite the order of the universe, to supplant divine authority with his own vision. For a fleeting moment, the scales of power seemed almost balanced, the brilliance of the morning star pitted against the infinite authority of the Creator. The war of wills between Lucifer and heaven was no longer a question of obedience. It was inevitable. The stage was set for a conflict that would echo across eternity. A battle not just for power, but for the very soul of creation itself.
The Bible, along with prophetic texts like the Book of Revelation, tells of a climactic battle, not fought with swords or shields, but with forces far beyond mortal comprehension: willpower, loyalty, and cosmic authority. Heaven itself trembled as Michael, the archangel of divine justice, marshaled the loyal host against Lucifer and the angels who had turned against the Creator. The imagery is staggering. Angels blazing with radiant energy, wings slicing through realms of light, their voices a chorus of thunder and harmony, clashing against a force equally brilliant but driven by rebellion. The sound of divine fury rolled like cosmic storms, shaking the very fabric of existence. The battlefield was not bound by space. It stretched across dimensions, a war of ideals, obedience versus defiance, loyalty versus ambition, light versus pride. Revelation 12:7-9 recounts the outcome. And there was war in heaven, and Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought and his angels and prevailed not, neither was their place found any more in heaven. In that moment, Lucifer fell from grace. His brilliance, once radiant enough to illuminate heaven itself, was stripped away. He was exiled, cast into the outer voids, a realm beyond the light he had once commanded. And he did not fall alone. Countless angels, seduced by his vision of independence, tumbled with him. Once emissaries of divine order, they became agents of darkness, forever marked by rebellion. This was not just a defeat, it was a transformation. The very nature of evil in the universe was born here, in the clash of light against ambition, order against pride. Heaven was forever changed, and the story of Lucifer's fall would echo across creation, a warning and a mystery that has fascinated humanity for millennia.